Okay. And also everyone else will be muted except for Gopal Champu because of the nature of chanting via Zoom. So Gopal Champu, please chant both times and we can chant back in our homes.
Okay. All right, so just for Natalie, since it's your first time, thank you so much for joining. You can be doing so many other things with your time this Saturday, but we're very glad you come here to hear and chant with us. So I'll try to explain as much as possible as we go along so you can understand what we're doing. So this song we're singing now is a song that our founder, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, taught us. Basically describes the whole spiritual world, describes Krishna. Krishna we understand to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna means the most attractive. So of course God is the most attractive, so attractive that you came here today because you were attracted to some principle higher than what you're experiencing currently in your experience. So you wanted to come and connect. You say you search for yoga. Actually, the real meaning of yoga means to connect with God. That's the real meaning of yoga, is to link with God. So this is a song that's going to be describing the spiritual world. And I think Sasha, you put up the lyrics for them to see in the translation.
Give me a second, I will put up.
Okay, so Sasha will put it up, and that way you can read the lyrics and the translation there. So I'll just start it now. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Bhallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Bhanachari Jamunatira Bhanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Bhallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Bhanachari Jamunatira Bhanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare No Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Did you guys hear Kirtan happening behind me? A little bit. So I'm at the Bhakti Center. I was taking a seminar, and I'm in one of the rooms, and there's another class going on in the other room. Please forgive me. There's some background noise.
I could hear only you, so that's
Okay, no problem.
good
Only-
microphone.
Okay, good. Okay, so now we'll say a mantra. This mantra is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Basically, this mantra is we're offering respects to Krishna. Another name of Krishna is Vasudev. Vasudeva. So we're also offering obeisances to him. So yeah, I'll say and you can repeat on your side. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I don't know if you have a copy of Bhagavad-gita as it is, Natalie. If you don't, do you have a copy? It looks like she does. You have that copy. Okay, so maybe
Share if you want.
you'll share the verse. Okay, so he's going to share the actual verse because we're reading from Bhagavad-gita as it is. So what you can do is actually, if you share your contact info with Sasha or with me, we can send you a Bhagavad-gita as it is, because just by you coming today to this class, you've earned the Bhagavad-gita as it is. So we'll mail one to your house. So just you can send us, connect with Sasha, send them the information there, where your address is, and I'll send you one. I'll make sure you get one. So this is the verse we're reading today in chapter 5, which is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So I guess, Sasha, what do we do with this? So we do call and respond, or I just read the verse and read everything through?
That is up to you. So we do both ways, up to the speaker.
Okay, so I guess what we'll do is maybe I'll read the verse, and then if after I read the verse a few times, and if some of the devotees want to try, they can try. Okay. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukam vasi navadhware pure dehi naiva kurvam nakarayan. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukam vasi navadhware pure dehi naiva kurvam nakarayan. Sarva karmani manasa Sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadhare pure dehi naiva kurvam nakarayan. Would anybody like to try?
Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvana karayan.
Anyone else?
Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayan.
Okay. One more. No? Okay, no problem. Okay, so we'll go to synonyms, or also known as the word for word. So the presentation Prabhupada did, Natalie, is very special, because what he did was he gave the Sanskrit, and then he gives the word for word meaning, and he gives the transliteration. The transliteration is, so what you're seeing here, the English Roman version of the letters of the Devanagari script, and then he gives the word for word, and he gives a translation, and then a commentary. So this is what's special about Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita, is that he's really helping us understand what each verse means and how we can actually apply it in our life. Sarva, all, karmani, activities, manasa, by the mind, sanyasya, giving up, aste, remains, sukham, in happiness, vashi, one who is controlled, navadhare, in the place where there are 9 gates, pure, in the city, dehi, the embodied soul, na, not, eva, certainly, kurvan, doing anything, na, not, karayan, causing to be done. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai. So the translation is as follows. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Report. The embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. The activities of the body, or the figurative city of the body, are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond those conditions if he so desires. Owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of this embodiment. And therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from the bodily activities. In such a controlled life, in which his deliberations are changed, he lives happily within the city of 9 gates. The 9 gates are mentioned as follows. Navadhare pure dehi hamso lelayate bhayi vashi sarvashalokasya stavhadvarasya charasya cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of the living entity, is a controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, the anus, and the genitals. The living entity in his conditioned stage identifies himself with the body. But when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. Svatara Upanishad 3:18. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. And we'll read the verse just once again. Sarva karmini manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadhvari pure dehi nava kurvam nakarayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happy in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. And now what I'll do, Natalie, I'll chant what's called a Mangala Charana. And basically what we're doing here, Mangala means auspicious, means good fortune, you can say also. Mangala Charana. So we're beginning this discussion today by first recognizing the teachers, the gurus who have given us this knowledge, also glorifying Krishna and his associates as well. Because when we're, speaking on spiritual topics, we know that it's only by the knowledge which has descended onto us, that are gifts. So the sampradaya means to give the greatest gift. So that's what we have received, is the greatest gift. And so in parampara, we're receiving this knowledge, this great knowledge that's coming through parampara. So so I'll chant the verse now. The verses now, and that's basically what I'm chanting, is some glorifications to invoke auspiciousness in this gathering.
Is it from the introduction to Bhagavad-gita?
Yeah, so you can put it up.
Sure, yeah.
That, and then I'll say a few more verses, but it's basically yes. Yeah. Om Jnanatimirandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chachurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Am Sajivam Sadhaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vikam Karoti Vachanam Pangulam Haiti Kripat Vande Shri Guru Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pushyata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So I'm happy to be with all of you today. I'm sad that it's not inside 26th Avenue, but at least we can be in the consciousness of being at 26th Avenue. And 22nd Avenue for you, Natalie, actually has a big, very important significance for us, followers of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It was the first temple incorporated in our society. So the storefront is still there, 22nd Avenue on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And every Saturday, this gathering, when renovations are not happening, happens inside the storefront. So when you come and see it in person, you'll see it's just a little tiny, basically, like a rich person's walk-in closet. This is a tiny storefront. But yet, it's amazing that Srila Prabhupada, from that tiny storefront, started a worldwide organization. So we literally have temples in practically every continent in the world. Hundreds of temples. There was recently, even there's not a temple in Antarctica, but there was a devotee who was doing some research there, and he actually brought some Bhagavad-gitas there, and he held a little celebration for Krishna's birthday, which is just coming up soon, September 6th, Wednesday. So you can mark that on your calendar, and you can come to the main Krishna temple in Brooklyn if you can make it. It'll be really good. Wednesday, September 6th, we party until midnight. So you're going to like it. If you come by, thousands of people come that day. So from that little storefront, Srila Prabhupada started this worldwide organization. And we have foreign communities all over the world. And basically what was Prabhupada's purpose in beginning this movement. So there's 7 particular purposes that Prabhupada states, 7 purposes of ISKCON. But many times Prabhupada would state that the purpose of having these brick and mortar, because in reality, what do we really need to speak and talk? And we don't really need anything. But the purpose of the buildings was, and the temples, was so people can come to a place and we can gather together and hear about Krishna. Right? Because Krishna Katha, which is what we're doing here, speaking about Krishna, it's a different quality of sound from the sound that we're accustomed to in the material world. So we're accustomed to so much noise. I mean, we listen to the news, that's noise. We go to work, we talk to our coworkers, there's so much noise. We talk with our family members. I mean, sometimes it can be, most of the time it's just noise. Whatever. There's a lot of noise in this world. But when we come to spiritual sound, actually this sound is of a different quality. So when this spiritual sound enters into ears, like we were just doing the chanting, these mantras, it enters into here and goes into the heart. And then what that does is it nourishes us. So when we talk about soul food, right? Real soul food is spiritual vibration. But now, so we do eat spiritualized food, which if you were in the storeroom today, we would also give you a nice vegetarian meal. That's what we eat. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad-gita, patram pushpam phalam toyam. So if you offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a fruit, a water, or leaf, fruit, water, leaf, fruit, water, or fruit, I will accept it. So by this, one of the principles of being a Krishna conscious devotee is that we take vegetarian foodstuffs that have been offered to Krishna first. And then Krishna spiritualizes this, he spiritualizes. So when we take this, it also nourishes not only our physical body, but also the soul. So that is what we're trying to do here. When we make these come together in these gatherings, we're nourishing, we're endeavoring to nourish ourselves by putting ourselves in front of this spiritual vibration of the Krishna Katha. So chanting about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, these things will nourish the body and cleanse the consciousness. So as we heard in the verse, Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, therefore a Krishna conscious person. So when he's referring to a Krishna conscious person, means someone who's conscious of God 24 hours a day. So I'm not there yet. So what we're in the process of now is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means practice. So as we know with any with anything we do in this world, it requires practice to become perfected in that art. And even recently I was discussing with one devotee that it takes 10 years and generally to whatever skill we want to master. It takes at least 10 years to become very proficient in that skill. So whether you're a baker or like Sergey used to be a surgeon when he was back in Belarus, and we have our Sasha, who's a mathematician, and I'm sure in a few more years he'll become even greater than the greatest mathematician, because he's doing math for Krishna. So like that. So even in Krishna consciousness, it takes practice. And so we introduce ourselves to the practice of Krishna consciousness, and then we have these gatherings regularly to support each other in that journey. We're on the journey of self-discovery, journey of going deeper within ourselves. And and it requires practice. And one analogy I always like to give about practice is one I heard of Kobe Bryant. So you must know who Kobe Bryant is. And of course, he left his body a few years ago. But I remember I was watching one thing, and it was giving a remembrance of Kobe Bryant. And it was this other basketball player. And he was saying that why Kobe Bryant was the best was because he practiced very, very, very diligently. He was very dedicated to his practice of basketball. And he said he witnessed it one day when they were playing with Team USA. So they were at some country and they were, Team USA. So they were both on Team USA. And this person, this basketball player was thinking, I'm going to get a head start on everyone. I'm going to be the first one in the court. So he set his alarm, and at 5 o'clock he woke up, got ready, was running down to the court, 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning. He said, I'm going to be the first one on the court, practicing. And he got there, and before he entered the court, there was a little, cafeteria area, and Kobe Bryant was already sitting there, drenched in sweat, with ice packs on his knees. So that means he got even earlier than him and already put in a 2-hour practice. So this is the determination it takes in spiritual life as well. Because spiritual life isn't just, we wave a magic wand, abracadabra, shabakalu, and, we become spiritual. No, it takes work. Just like with anything else in this world. To become, let's say, a doctor, for example, so many years of school, so many years of practice, so much studying that has to be done. So this Bhagavad-gita is just the beginning. So we'll introduce you to more other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like an encyclopedia of Vedic wisdom, the Puranas, and so many things we have available to us as tools that we can utilize in order to become self-realized, because that is the point of human life. So in the Bhagavatam, actually, in the first canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 6, it says, Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhaktir dhokshajay haitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. So this is a very important verse, because it says, Savai pumsa paro dharmo. So it means that the topmost occupation. So dharma means the inherent nature of something. So the inherent nature, for example, of sugar is to be sweet. Their inherent nature of salt is to be salty. And what is the inherent nature of the human being, of the soul? It is to serve. And the perfection of that serving propensity is to serve God. Because we can say, serve. Yeah, serve, no problem. I can serve my country. I can serve my neighborhood. I can serve my boss. I can serve. But those services will not completely fulfill the need that the soul has, which is to serve the Supreme Self, Krishna. He's the self of our self. He's the super soul. Also, he's known as Paramatma, which means the super soul. So that is where service reaches its perfection. And the analogy that's commonly given by Srila Prabhupada is that when we water the root of a tree, right? So let's say, do you do gardening, Natalie? Any sense? Yeah, you do. Okay. So let's say you planted a rose bush. And let's say you wanted to water that rose bush. Would you take water and water all the leaves of the bush for all the flowers to get nourishment, or would you water the root? You'll water the root, exactly. I can read lips, so I'm watching her and see what she's saying. So she'll water the root of the bush, exactly. So by watering the root, automatically the rest of the bush will be nourished. So similarly, when we serve Krishna, when we serve God, automatically we're doing the best for ourselves and for humanity. So that's what this verse says, Savai pumsa paro dharmo, that the topmost dharma is ahaitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati, which Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksajay, which means to serve that supreme being, who's beyond the senses. So one may say, if he's beyond the senses, then how do I know he's actually there? Well, he's beyond the material senses. So this is an important point to grasp. We do have material senses, which is, what we're experiencing in this world, our eyes, our nose, our ears, our tongue. So this is how we can experience the material world. But beyond the material senses, there are our real spiritual senses, which right now are in a covered state. In the process of self-realization, is uncovering our spiritual senses again. And then we'll be able to see God. We'll be able to experience God. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santasa dhevar yesa vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achinta gunasa rupam govindamari purusham tam bhajam. This comes from a famous book, you could say a famous song called the Brahma Samhita. And Lord Brahma, he's actually the creator of this universe. So he had direct vision of God. And he explained in this verse that when one's eyes are tinged with the salve of love, then we can actually see the Lord again face to face. So this is what we're endeavoring to do when we come together like this, and by reading the books, we're trying to enter into that consciousness. We're trying to fill our mind with these, you can say, transcendental vibrations, this understanding that comes from a different dimension. Actually, it's something that's out of this realm. And Krishna himself assures us that if we have this understanding of him in truth, then we'll no longer have to again take birth in this realm. Do you like being in this world where there's birth, death, disease, and old age? I can ask that to everyone. Do you like that? You know, where every step, there's danger at every step. We can be alive right now, and you know, I can walk out this building and be hit by a bus. I mean, that's the reality of this material world. Dukkha layam ashasvatam, which means it's full of misery. Now, we're not saying that to just be negative, but that's the reality of the world, of this world. But that doesn't mean that we don't have access to the real reality, which is the spiritual world. And we can connect with that world even while being in this world. So that is what the process of Krishna consciousness does, is that we transform our consciousness. So even while we're in the material world, we can be living in a spiritual consciousness and therefore be completely unaffected by our body, the environment around us, and because we're constantly being attacked. You know, that's the material world is full of miseries, as I was just mentioning. So there's adi atmika klesha. This means that our own self, our own body and mind, is just giving us so much difficulties. Adi bhodika and adi daivika. Adi bhodika means other bodies. You know, the other day I was taking a nap, and I guess someone had left a window open, and then, you know, like just shortly into my nap, like both of my ankles just started itching. And then I looked and I was just getting attacked by mosquitoes. They were just, you know, having a feast on my feet. And, you know, and it's a disturbance, you know, then your feet get all itchy and you have to like get some lotion or something. And you're just like, oh, this is so troublesome. Then it may be our next door neighbor. For some reason, they just feel that, you know, they want to blast loud music, or they want to park their car in front of our you know, our driveway, and then we can't get in, or something like that. But we get botheration by other living entities. And then there's adi daivika klesha, which is the miseries that we experience from nature. And so this is completely out of our control. So this is another thing that we get to see, that we're not in control. We're literally just experiencing this world. Because me and my fiance, we for a couple weeks already in a row, because she's off on Fridays and I'm off Fridays. So we're a couple Fridays, we're like, okay, we're gonna go on a bike ride early in the morning. 6 o'clock comes and it's pouring rain. What can we do about it? Zero, out of our control. We're just like, all right, what to do? So yesterday we stayed in the temple the whole day, because it was like we couldn't go out. It was raining. It's like you have all these plans, but there's something greater than us in control. So just these things we can also see, because a lot of times also coming to spiritual life, it's said that the last snare of the material energy, or you can say of illusion, is that the living entity, jiva, me, the soul, the teeny soul. No, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, that all souls are just a fragmental part of me. So we're the same quality of Krishna, but we're not the same quantity. See, so, but the last snare of illusion is that me, the tiny soul, will think that I'm God. But how am I God? What am I in control of? I can't even control my own mind. I can't even control my own, call of nature. If nature's calling, you can't say, hey, hold up, I got something. No, you have to run to the bathroom. We're not in control. We're not in control. So that is what today's verse is alluding to. There's amazing, amazing points that we can see in today's verse. So here, Prabhupada is saying, so here, let's read the verse. It says, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates. The material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Here in the purple, Prabhupada says, the embodied soul lives in the city of nine gates. So, see, the soul lives in the city of nine gates. So the city of nine gates is referring to the material body, which is composed of the 8 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And because of the false ego is making us think that we're this body. So in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Prakriti karyamanani, guna karmi sarvasaha, ahankara vimudatma, kartaham iti manyate. So he says that the living entity, the soul, the pure soul, bewildered by the false ego, thinks that he is carrying out activities that are in actuality carried out by the 3 modes of nature. So what the 3 modes of nature are, it's like you can say the 3 main ingredients that everything in this, in our experience in this world is composed of, or is mixed to compose everything. So those 3 modes are tamogun, which means ignorance, rajogun, which means passion, and sattvagun, which means goodness. So in this material world, it's a mixture of these 3 modes, and there's what actually controlling everything. So even right now, I'm going like this. So here, everyone can move their hand like this, can do this, their right hand. Okay, you see that? So do you think you're doing that? Of course, I'm doing it, right? I'm in control. No. What happens? Krishna mentions in 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Upadhrastanu mantascha. He is the overseer and permitter. So he's sitting in our heart right now, actually. And as he mentioned here, the embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. So in the 18th chapter, verse number 61, Krishna also states to Arjuna, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesya Arjuna tistati, brahmaya sarvabhutani yantra rudani mayaya. So he says that the living entity is sitting in the body as if in a machine. So the way I always imagine this in my mind is like, maybe something everyone can relate to. It's like Men in Black. And Men in Black, there was an alien that had, like it's like a robot, and the head comes off, and there's just a little guy in there sitting, and he's controlling the body, moving up and down. So it's the same thing with us. This body is composed of material elements. The soul is sitting within the heart of the body. And then all we're actually doing is we're just desiring to move the hand. I'm just desiring to move my head around. And then Krishna, as a super soul, the overseer and permitter, allows that to happen. Otherwise, if Krishna says, nope, no hand movement, no matter how much I want to move my hand, it won't move. No matter how much I want to speak, I won't speak. So Krishna allows us to perform whatever activity we want to perform. And by performing our activities, according to, what kind of activities we're performing, we're either accruing bad karma, accruing good karma, or not doing any karma at all, which is when we engage in spiritual activities. It's not karmic activities, it's beyond, it's transcendental activities. So we no longer engage in this vicious cycle of karma, which, you can say, oh, but good karma is good, isn't it? It's great. It's like, good karma, I become a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. Yeah, but it's temporary. This is the thing that, of course, we're not against good things. No, of course, Krishna says, as it's stated in the Bhagavatam, that that we should desire a good life. We should desire a healthy life. Because I mean, in reality, for example, if you were so hungry right now, at this very moment, if you were starving so bad that you couldn't even think or sit here still, it wouldn't be a favorable situation. You would be like, okay, my first duty is to feed myself. So yeah, we want people to have, and we ourselves also desire to have at least some basic facility. For what purpose? So this is the difference. The difference of a devotee or one who has a higher consciousness thinks I want to have some basic facilities so I can be peaceful, so I can engage the balance of focus of energy I have in spiritual activities. So this is an intelligent use of this body that we've been loaned, actually. I've been getting into real estate, so I'll have my license soon. And one of the things we speak about a lot is leases. So actually, this body is just a lease. That's all it is. It's a lease that you have for a certain amount of time. And when your time is up, your time is up. And guess what? Nothing that you've accumulated with the material body, materially, any material assets that you have accumulated, you will not take with you. It all stays right here with the body. But the thing that does come with you is the spiritual activity that we have performed. So that is why in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that we should desire at least a peaceful life, healthy life, but we shouldn't engage all our energy in just material pursuits. We should also, side by side, be cultivating our spiritual life. Right? So it's like a train track. You have the two rails. I mean, of course, we have the third rail. So just in this example, 2 rails, Panchatriti Vidi and Bhagavat Marg. So the Panchatriti Vidi is the regulated, rules and regulations, and we're living in this world. And actually, in the Ishopanishad, it mentions this point. Ishopanishad is one of the main Upanishads. It said that one who cultivates the understanding of nescience and transcendence side by side achieves the nectar of immortality. So yes, we do have to understand some things in this material world, and we do have to navigate in this material world. So a devotee isn't ignorant or callous to the things in the world and their duties in this world. Of course, we all have different duties according to our body, according to our social status, according to our whatever family obligations. We have different duties, and yeah, a devotee carries them out. So here, which could be confusing when we sometimes read, because here Prabhupada mentions at the end, he says, therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both outer and inner activities of the material body. So does that mean that we just don't do anything? No, you see, this is the whole lesson of the Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna was telling Arjuna, you act, you do your duty, but do your duty in consciousness of me. This chapter is called Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So we do our duty, and we all have propensities according to our karma. And Krishna says, I am the activity in man. So everything actually that we're, that we've acquired activity-wise or skills-wise or talent-wise, that's all coming from Krishna. So to also deny our activities and talents and duties is like denying what Krishna has given us, the gifts that he's put in our hands. So we utilize these things, but we, at the same time, are detached from results that come from our duties. So like we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, now, of course, when he came to America, he was already a sannyasi, he was renounced. But before that, there's a wonderful book called Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, which tells the whole life of Srila Prabhupada. And we see from the time Srila Prabhupada was a young man, early 20s, was married, had a family, took care of his duties. He, was a householder. He had a job, he had a business, and he took care of his things. He was responsible, made sure his family had what he needed. He worked, and he did his spiritual practice alongside. So for most of us, this will be the case. 99% of us mostly will be living seemingly in the material world, having to do material activities, and at the same time engage in spiritual life. So this is just the way it is. It's just the way it is, right? There's a song like this. It's just the way it is. So this is it. But at the same time, why? That's actually Krishna's kindness, because we have desires. So he allows us to try to live out our desires, to do our desires in this in the world, and at the same time engage in Krishna consciousness, in the practice of spiritual life. So this is this is Krishna's mercy, that he's given us all an opportunity to engage in whatever position we're in. So this is another thing, is that we don't have to change anything in our life right now. Just add Krishna. So Prabhupada would mention this point when he was preaching early on in 26 Second Avenue. He said, he would say to his disciples that right now, all your talents are like zeros. And what is a bunch of zeros? If you have 6 zeros, what is that equal? Sasha can tell us, he's a mathematician. 6 zeros equals?
0.
But if you add a 1 in front of those 6 zeros, now you have?
A million.
1 million. So let me see here. Someone's just knocking at the door. Let me just double check. There was a class. All right, guys. So there was some miscommunication, and they put me in a room that's going to be used. So let's see what I can do. I can probably go up to the men's ashram. So if you guys I'm just going to cut out for like 2 minutes and go up to the men's ashram, and I'll be back online.
Okay.
1 second.
Does anybody know any songs or anything we can sing in the meantime?
And we can always sing Hare Krishna mantra.
Yeah, we could practice singing that. Sergey, other than being a surgeon, are you also a singer?
I think Sergey, he knows how to play karatals.
Oh.
He is a musician, but maybe not a singer. Maybe. But he always chants Hare Krishna with us, so he's a singer also.
Do we have any singers here?
I mean, I'm not sure we have professional singers, but all of us, we can chant.
Okay, so
if you want Mandara prayer, we can try this when we chant all together on Zoom. Even so, it sounds weird, but it's fun. So you can, like, if you want, you can lead Kirtan. So we will actually chant back, and we can unmute ourselves. But try not to chant too soft, because otherwise only the loudest person, Zoom will select only the loudest person. So you can vary from soft to loud, so that all of us would be heard sometimes. So we will chant call and response. The Damodara Priya will chant once, and then everyone else will chant in response, and then the Damodara Priya will chant again, and then all of us. So that's, and you can choose maybe some simple melody. So that. Is it okay? Oh, I cannot hear Damodara Priya. Oh, Damodara Priya, your microphone is not working. No, I don't think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, Krishna was almost going to be like, nah. Okay. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And Gopal Champu Prabhu for the win.
Very well.
Krishna was like, that's it. That's good.
Oh, that was good.
Very good. Thanks.
Okay. So we're back online. Where there's a will, there's a way. I want to keep talking about Krishna. Krishna provides facility. And that's actually what we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada. We're actually discussing today on what is actual success. So just to give a backstory, Prabhupada, when he was coming from India, he had nothing. Actually, it's described that he only had 40 rupees on him, which is in those days equivalent to only $8. $8. What can you do with $8? He got on a steamship in India, in Calcutta, actually in this month, August 13th, just a couple weeks ago. And he sailed for 1 month across the Atlantic Ocean, and he touched down first in Boston Harbor, and then he came to New York. And basically, when we were discussing today that Prabhupada's success was not that he, opened hundreds of temples and, wrote, 80 books and initiated thousands of disciples. His success was just walking on that ship that day on the Jaladuta in Calcutta. Why? Because his guru had ordered him to go to the West. And because he wholeheartedly had faith and believed in the words of his spiritual master, he got on that ship knowing that whatever comes after this, it's just going to be the mercy of my guru and of Krishna. So when a spiritual practitioner takes a spiritual life, this is one of the quintessential points, is that one becomes dependent on the mercy of Krishna. And there's 6 symptoms of surrender. So we talked a little bit about, the material body. And when one misidentifies with the body, that is what causes suffering. Prabhupada here mentions that in the purport. He says that owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. So that suffering comes about because the living entity becomes bewildered. The soul becomes bewildered by according to the type of body he's in, and then he tries to act out desires according to that body. So we were discussing about like dogs will bark, actually some dogs have a good life. You can say some dogs are very nicely pampered. But the dog won't sit down and question, who am I? Where did I come from? What is the purpose of life? The dog only has a certain set of activities, and it acts according to the body it has. Similarly, a pig. I don't know if you experienced any pigs, but if you go to Vrindavan or in also some rural countries, rural areas, you'll see the pigs that they actually enjoy eating stool. And that's what they've gotten. That's the type of body they've had. So in the Bhagavad-gita, it it describes that a certain set of senses are grouped about the mind, and one carries out activities according to the body one has been given. So the special thing that when we're in the human body, we can detach ourselves from these material elements and start to say, okay, I see that, I see this body, I see these elements, but I know I'm not them. Whereas the animals won't do that. So we have that special ability in the human form of life, is that we can be in the body, but understand that we're not the body. So then what activities do we carry out? So activities in Krishna consciousness, there's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, there's a very nice story. There's this boy, his name is Prahlad Maharaj. And his father was this huge, this big, very demoniac person. You know, he wanted to kill his own son. And, but we saw how Prahlad, because of his faith in God, because of his faith in Krishna, he was able to overcome whatever difficulties came his way. So when his father asked him one day, he said, "My dear boy, what is the best thing? What have you learned in school today?" And Prahlad Maharaj replied to him. He replied to him the 9 processes of bhakti. So we're on this path called bhakti yoga. This is the path that we practice Krishna consciousness, devotional service. So there's 9 ways, or 9 principal ways that are mentioned, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Hasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Bandhanam also is there. So Shravanam means hearing. So this is what we do when we read the scriptures, when we listen to a talk, we're hearing. Kirtanam means to speak or to sing. Then we have Vishnu Smaranam, which means to remember about God. So, you know, there's this book called Krishna Book, which we can also get to, Natalie, which Prabhupada writes in the introduction how we all have a desire to hear about some famous person, right? Isn't it? You know, I mean, I've been a little disconnected from the media for, you know, I was a monk for 6 years, so I was a little disconnected from what was going on out there. But I mean, I remember actors like, you know, Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. I think maybe they're still making movies, but you know every detail about them, what movies they did, how they did it, how they acted, you know, everything about them you would know. So naturally we have a desire, you know, or like, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians. Now they're on like their whatever 25th season or something. But why do they keep doing these shows? Because people are interested in hearing about people, about hearing. So Prabhupada makes the point that just hearing about Krishna, about hearing about Krishna's activities, they're so attractive, and it gives us something to put the mind on, to focus the mind. And then when you hear about Krishna's activities, they're so wonderful. You're just like, wow, like this is the person I want to be around. So that's Vishnu Smaranam. Pada Sevanam means to serve the lotus feet of Krishna. Archanam, so we worship the deity form of Krishna, which is an authorized form which Krishna has bestowed on the entities in this world, which is seemingly material forms, but Krishna accepts our service through the deity form. Vandana means prayers. This is a very, very important way to connect with God, is through prayers. So we have the prayers of the previous saints that we can recite, Brahma Samhita. We can recite verses from the Bhagavad-gita, from the Bhagavatam. We can also do our own prayers, you know, because actually, when Prabhupada installed the deities, these deities of Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram is Krishna's brother. He installed these deities of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, which is where Krishna was born, and it's a wonderful place. And he said that we can go to the deities of Krishna Balaram and say, "My dear sirs, this is my problem." So we come before the Lord, because we understand that ultimately He's the supreme controller. So whatever difficulties and issue I'm going through, I'll put it to the Lord. Please help me. This is what I'm facing in my life. You know, I don't know what's best for me. I know you're in control. I put it in your hands. Please guide me, please direct me. So this is a very important aspect of connecting with the Lord. And then for us, of course, dasya means servitorship. And then these other two forms are very higher levels. Of course, sakya is like considering the Lord like a friend, and atmavedam, completely surrendering ourselves onto the Lord. So yeah, it's important to understand these points and the 6 symptoms of surrender, which is something that we can always meditate on. The first symptom is accepting things favorable for the service of Krishna, rejecting things that are unfavorable. So these are things that will take us away from developing higher consciousness, take us away from thinking about Krishna. So particularly as practitioners of this lineage, we restrain from certain activities which are known to, you can say, pollute the mind and pollute the consciousness, like taking any intoxication, engaging in gambling, engaging in meat eating or fish or eggs, and in illicit sex as well, any sex outside of marriage for the purpose of procreation. So these things are known to agitate the mind and senses, and then we can't really think straight, or we're thinking about this and that, things that don't have to be, say, thought about. Then there's considering the Lord our only protector, considering Krishna our only maintainer. So this is a crucial point. Understanding that the Lord is actually maintaining us at every moment. I'm breathing right now, but how is that happening? Did I create the oxygen? How are my organs working? I don't know how any of this is happening. The Lord is maintaining me. Even, we go and we have some food and we're eating. How did this food come about? Did I create the food? No, He created the seed. He created the rain. The rain came, the vegetables grew, the grains grew. They took that, and from there you can make some foodstuffs to eat and offer to the Lord. So we're not in control. The Lord is maintaining us. An elephant, you know how much an elephant eats every day? 2 tons or something like that. Something, some magnificent amount. I think maybe Sasha, or maybe I saw Dharmadhar Priya has some elephant drawing there, so maybe she knows a thing or two about elephants. But they eat a lot. But the elephants aren't putting on a suit in the morning and getting in their Lexus and driving to the train station to take the bus into the city and to work hard all day and then go back home. They're not doing that. But yeah, they're being maintained. So Krishna is maintaining. So Krishna is our maintainer. And then the next symptom is to surrender my mind, body, and words onto the service of the Lord. And then the last symptom of surrender is to become meek and humble before the Lord. You see, because we don't come before the Lord saying, "I'm such a great person. Why don't you recognize me? Why don't you see how amazing I am?" No, we come in the mood of a humble servant. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who was Prabhupada's guru, taught this consciousness. He very much liked to speak about Drishta Vichar, which means to the seer and the seen. So actually, the Lord is seeing all our activities at every moment. Actually, we're never alone. It's scary and at the same time a liberating thought. Because, sometimes we may do things that we're just like, I wish nobody knew, but guess what? The Lord knows. And in the Bhagavatam, this would be a little scary, but this is just knowledge that's there. 33 million demigods, all the directions, all the elements are watching every activity you're doing. So we're never alone, actually. So He knows. So it's like, like that riddle, Santa Claus is coming to town. He knows if you've been naughty. He knows if you've been nice. They're probably thinking of Krishna when they wrote that thing. But anyway, Krishna knows. So when we start to live a more conscious life, we'll start to be where our character will be actually character is defined by how you act when no one's looking. So we can say character is our relationship with God, which ultimately is something that's very deep, very profound. And so Yeah. I mean, that we can say that because that is our actual position. Jivera Swarupa Krishneta Nityadas, we're eternal servants of Krishna. And that is our relationship with God. So when we're acting with that understanding, then we're properly situated, and we can then act out our activities all the time by thinking, what would God think if I did this right now, or if I acted in this way? So in that way, we'll try to act the best way possible at every moment of our lives. Yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, we're going to trip up on the path, but it's more noble to walk the saintly path, even though it's lined with thorns, because this is the path that will ultimately help us get to our actual position, which is back to the spiritual world, where we'll actually be full of, where we'll actually be situated back in our eternal position, where we'll actually be happy, Ananda, and we'll actually be full of knowledge, as opposed to this material world where we're in a temporary place, we're full of ignorance, and there's misery at every step. Well, there's just a few thoughts I wanted to share with all of you today. And please forgive me if I spoke anything that was out of line, but I hope I was able to please my spiritual master in Srila Prabhupada. And now if there's any reflections, a reflection is something you heard in the class that you'll take with you, or questions, we can open up the floor now for those. Yes, Damodar Priya.
Hi, Krishna, Gopal, Champu. I actually have a question because when you were going over the different gunas, or the different modes of nature, like goodness and passion and ignorance, and you were having us do the example of like picking up our hands and just saying that, like we're not really in control, like that's all by Krishna's permission. I was wondering if you could clarify that kind of line of thought with, where does our free will come in? Where does that exist within that context? If we're saying that everything we do is by Krishna's permission, so where does free will come in? And also, especially in the context of when people do really horrible things, like how do we kind of conceptualize that or understand that within that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we do have free will. And again, just because Krishna is allowing us to do something doesn't mean we don't have free will. So he's approving certain activities, certain things he won't approve. So it depends also on karma. So the way I remember Jayadvaita Swami described this in another way, so I can give two examples of the way I've heard that free will and being controlled, being explained. So for example, he said it's like a cow, for example, may be in a fenced in area, let's say 1 acre of land that's fenced in. So now the cow can move freely, but only within that 1 acre. So that's the limited scope of activity you have. Just like right now, according to my karma, according to my destiny, you can say, I'm sitting in the 6th floor of the Bhakti Center. I can't hug my mother who's in Oceanside right now. I can't, no matter how I think about it, no matter what, I just can't, because I've come to this situation now, and I'm only limited by what I can do within this sphere right now. Or the same example can be applied when you get on an airplane, right? You buy a ticket to Gainesville. I mount the airplane. Now, as soon as I get on the airplane takes off. I can move around within the airplane. I can go to the bathroom, but guess what? That plane is going to land in Gainesville, and I can't, while I'm in the middle of the plane, decide, okay, I want to go to China. Well, guess what? I can't do that. I mean, of course, someone could say, oh, you can go inside the cockpit, you can knock the pilot out, you can take it. I mean, what's the probability of that happening? No, you're going to end up in Gainesville, because that was the choice you made, and now you're confined to that destiny to end up in Gainesville. You had that free will to decide. You decided, okay, I want to go to Gainesville. So the Lord approved it, And now you're getting, so that's it. Now you can't really change that once that has been approved by the Lord. But if you didn't approve that action also, then, no matter how much you want to go to Gainesville, it could be that he cancels all the flights. This comes, I had a friend, or I can even give this example of my fiance. She wanted to go to India so bad. It's like been her desire for the last 4 years. She wants to go to India, but her visa has not been approved. So there's nothing she can do. We were discussing it the other day. She's like, I want to go to India. You're going. Oh, you're going without me. And, I wanted her to go as well, but it's just is out of our control. So I hope that helps.
Yes, that's definitely. And I was just wondering then the second part of it and especially since we have new people here, like how do we then understand when people do really horrible things and like where free will goes into it? And then people also then say, oh, well then why is God allowing like these horrible things to happen? Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So there's a few different perspectives on that. One perspective is that there's a collective karma. So because of collective karma, sometimes some people are empowered to do horrible acts. You can say that they deal out the karma to people that are meant to receive it. And then there's people that just have bad desires. And so because of the karmic chain, the way it works is that sometimes, like I'll give an example. Let's say a cow is killed by somebody, right? Now in a future life, that cow, the soul who was in that cow's body would have to take birth in a person's body, and that person who had killed the cow would have to take birth in a cow's body to receive again that karma that's due to him for killing that cow so many lifetimes. So it's a very complex system. So there's actually a painting of that in the Bhagavad-gita. Let's see, actually I have it there. And Prabhupada here, there's that painting. So even, seemingly bad activities are sanctioned also by the Lord. So you see here. So so sometimes, even though, we don't want to seem, also kind of hard, oh, that was a person's karma. Yeah, but that's what it is. It's just karma being paid out, and then someone delivering the karma according to their desires. So yeah, and then people have sometimes demonic desires, and the Lord allows. That's the purpose of the material world, is that he allows the living entities to carry out whatever desires they have. But from the devotee perspective, we understand, okay, these are all just temporary things. Even they may seemingly be so bad, it's just happening only in the material realm. Like when the Muslims came into Vrindavan and destroyed so many temples and so many deities, someone could say, how did that happen? Why did Krishna allow that to happen? Well, because they had the desire to do those things. So Krishna allowed, okay, no problem, you can do. He sanctioned it. They have such a desire. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a little kid. I mean, I don't have kids, but maybe Sergey can attest to this, or we can attest to it when we were younger, that, our parents might be telling us, don't do this, it's bad for you. Don't do this. But I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. Okay, do it. What can I do? You want to do it so bad, do it. But then you're going to have to suffer the consequences of that action. So that's the system of karma. So yes, there's people doing bad things, but guess what? They're also going to have so many worse things done to them. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I think I was looking at this thing in a different perspective, and if you could correct me if I'm wrong, or just provide your insight on that. I think the way I look at it is that when someone is doing something horrible, let's say we're talking about the story of Ramayana, where Ravan had to do something wrong, I felt like it was meant for the greater good, because it was meant for Ravan to come and kidnap Mother Sita, and then Lord Ram to go and kill him. So if Ravan wouldn't have done that, the world, or us right now wouldn't have known our history, or us wouldn't have known what not to be like, what maybe not to be like Ravan. Or maybe same thing happens in the Mahabharata, when the war was meant to happen so that we could know the Bhagavad-gita. So people had to do their bad karma for the higher cause, is what I was thinking about. You could please correct me if I'm wrong or something.
No, you're right. You're right. It's just there's multiple reasons. So for example, sometimes because Krishna wants to fight, he'll arrange, those are, Ramayana and Mahabharata. These are very, very special cases, of course, because this is Krishna himself. He's arranging those because sometimes he wants to have a good fight. And yeah, sometimes he's arranging for instructing humanity at large. So yeah, there's like I said, there's multiple reasons, and that's why karma also is a very a difficult thing to understand. Krishna mentions himself that in the Bhagavad-gita. It's a very intricate system. So, there's cases where Krishna's having his pastimes and he's killing certain demons like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Jagai Madhai, he's transforming them. There's Ravana and Dantavak and Ravana and his brother Kumbhakarna. So yeah, so sometimes Krishna's arranging because he also likes to fight. So again, there's multiple reasonings. So like you mentioned, Leela reasons. These are pastimes. So these are things that are there. Yeah, for the benefit. There's reasons behind it. There's stories behind it. There's lessons behind those things, and then of course, then there's the other reasons I mentioned as well. So it's not that you're wrong. Is that and that? So multiple things can be there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add to that what you said just reminded me that I've heard from Rukmini Walker Prabhu and some other Srila Prabhupada disciples. When I've asked this question, they always say, as much as we can't understand karma, what we can understand as devotees is that our role is, as devotees or as people who are focused on serving God, is that our role in life is not to try to figure out why bad things are happening to people, but to do our part to try to ameliorate, to try to make things better for them, so that like we're here to help others and to soothe them and to kind of like be compassionate. And they just kept reminding me, like, don't worry so much about like why the bad things are happening. Like, see, like what's the good that you can do? How can you serve others? So yeah, so I just wanted to add that because I do get stuck in that first question and then I forget that I've had it answered with that second part. So I apologize.
No, this is great. That's a great point. Yeah, it's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because sometimes people may think, oh, what about my past lives? How did Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You're here now. How do you get out of this situation? That's what we have to, because people get caught up like, oh, what did I do? What was in my past life? What about the life before that? What about that? So we might get caught up in things that are actually not important, you can say, at the current moment. Because okay, how do we get out of this situation? Now like that's what we really got to focus on. So yeah, I like the point you mentioned, how we're meant to help people then break free of the cycle, which is called samsara, the cycle of birth and death. So, we've all been traversing this. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmanda Pramite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva Guru Krishna Prasaya Bhai Bhakti Lata Bija. So it says that the living entity has been traveling all over the Brahmanda, which means the universes, for countless lives. But Bhagyavana Jiva, a Jiva who's become fortunate, receives the seed of bhakti by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the Bhakti Lata Bija. So now that's what we have to focus on, is assisting Srila Prabhupada in giving these seeds out in the form of books, in the form of the holy names, in the form of prasadam, giving these seeds out and then helping water these seeds of bhakti, so they can become a beautiful tree that goes all the way back up to the spiritual world. And that should be our focus. So thank you, Andrea, for Damodar Priya, for bringing that up. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Natalie, do you have any questions?
No questions, but thank you so much for this.
Great. She looks blissful now. You just had
I do feel I feel very much at peace.
Great.
No, this was really nice to be a part of and to meet everyone here. I think this was definitely something I was looking for.
Yeah, if you can come in person, definitely that festival is going to be September 6th It's going to be a very special festival. It's Krishna's birthday. So if you come to the temple that day, it's going to be amazing. I'll introduce you. You know, Sasha will probably be there. A lot of people.
Also Julan Jatra, which is really sweet for her to do for the first time. The swing festival starting this
You're
Sunday.
free this tomorrow. I don't know your schedule's like, but you're free tomorrow. You can come tomorrow to the Sunday feast. Starts
Where
at
can I get the address?
yeah. We can maybe Sasha. You can write it in the chat so
Yeah.
she can.
I will send.
And then remember 26 Second Avenue, which is this group where you're in right now, every Saturday at 5:30. So you can make it into the city Saturdays at 5:30. I don't know when we'll be back in person. I saw the devotees working today on the roof. They're changing the ceiling of the storefront. So they're working hard. Saw Priya Saka and them in there. So
Thank you.
yeah, it's definitely it'll be a amazing experience. My grandmother came to the temple one time during Govardhan Puja. So this is another amazing celebration we have that's coming up in like a couple months. And basically usually we call it the Food Mountain Festival. We make a big mountain of food, mostly sweets, a big mountain. And then we circumambulate the mountain and we chant and we do. So my grandmother came to the temple. And my grandmother's a Catholic lady from the Dominican Republic. You know, she's like in her 90s and she's sitting there and she's like watching. You know, what the devotees do like towards the end is they all run to the mountain and the devotees are giving out sweets to everyone. So my grandmother came to she went to the middle of the mountain, and then my aunt and my mother, they were all looking, they were like, where did she go? And she comes back with her hands full of sweets. And then she told me at the end, yeah, you can tell your authorities, they know how to worship God. So she picked it up, you know, she's a Catholic lady, she's been going to church her whole life, but she came to the temple and she saw like, this is genuine, because then you'll be able to perceive. Because that's the thing when we, Prabhupada didn't, come here to like, discredit other religious, processes. But what he wanted to teach people and what he wanted to emphasize was that as human beings, we have to love God. So whichever process that you're feeling drawn to and connected to that's helping you love God, develop your love for God, then that's okay. But develop your love for God, that was the main emphasis. Because if you put Moses, if you put Jesus, if you put the great saints of all the different traditions in one room together, they're not going to argue and fight and, they're going to glorify the Lord. As mentioned in the Bhagavad-gita, that's what great souls do. They come together and they derive great satisfaction and bliss and joy from glorifying the Lord, because ultimately he's the Supreme Father. So we'll sit around and glorify the Father no matter where we are. We can be, kicked out of a room we were just sitting in and continue doing it on the 6th floor, and we'll be happy either way. So
maybe also, I don't know, we are almost out of time, but maybe Julia have any questions if she wants. I don't know if she can unmute herself.
Hi Gopal. Thank you for working with us. I'm sorry I had a really bad internet connection. I didn't have any specific questions, but I just wanted to thank you very much, and especially the first half was really helpful for me. I've been just listening instead of having the sight of the computer monitor, and it was just very relaxing for me. And so I was just in a very, very good and healthy and relaxed place, and it was really nice to have your face in my mind. And I wish I could see you guys, and I wish I could be there, but I'm going to be at the temple on the 6th. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be my first celebration of Krishna's birthday, so I'll be there. And I don't know if I'll make it till midnight, but I'm going to try. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person, those who can make it. And if you guys are thinking about making it, please do try to come. I'll be there. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's pretty much what I have to say.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So we do a little more Kirtan?
Yeah, we can. You can lead chanting for a few minutes.
Okay, sure. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, 26 Second Avenue Sangha ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you, Gopal Champu Prabhu, very much for giving such a beautiful class and for leading this Kirtan. Also, I will ask everyone to unmute themselves and join me in expressing our appreciation to Gopal Champu Prabhu. Gopal Champu Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.